Okay, evening brothers and sisters, we're back for another video. We're just going to take a look at a word here in Isaiah 4:4 and maybe move on into Isaiah 48. We'll see what we got for time here. This is important. Of course, I think all studies is important, but this one I couldn't help but notice it really connected to something I had said in a prior video. That's the Philosopher's Stone. Of course, I've said it in more than one video, but that's the most recent one I said it in. Was about the vomit on the table and how it really was the pollution that come from the wine, the admixture of doctrine. And this word actually validates that, how the daughters became washed in the pollution of their husband Baal, and Baal means Lord of Dung. It's also another word name that's gave to your husband who wants to be your Lord and Master, not that he is. God says in, I can't remember the passage. I think it's in Hosea. It may be a different passage where she says, I will remove the name of Baal off of your tongue. He ain't your Lord and Master. He never was. So this is the one we're going to look at right quick and maybe move into Isaiah 48. We'll see. The Lord will wash away the filth of the women. Specified women here. Doesn't say men, doesn't say people. It says women. The Lord. And that's 136. That's our head. That's right. And she was the glory on earth, and she chose us as her particular inheritance. So the Lord will wash away the filth of the women of Zion. She, not he, will cleanse the blood stains from Jerusalem, from a spirit of judgment and a spirit of fire. So let's do the King James as well. When the Lord shall have washed away the filth of the daughters of Zion, and shall have purged the blood, see, purging the blood, washing the blood, of Jerusalem from the midst thereof by the spirit of judgment and by the spirit of burning. Okay, so when we go in here, you watch what it says. It's an amazing word. You know, we really need to actively study the meaning of the words in their fullness to get the full understanding. So the word we're going to be looking at here is filth. And it is 6675. It happens to be a feminine noun. And it means filth. But let's scroll down here in the notes. Let's scroll down. Oops, it went by. Okay, this is what it says. Feminine filth. Noun, absolute. Guess what it says also in the notes? Isaiah 28:8. Of drunkards, vomit. So they're washing the filth, the drunkards' vomit off of the daughters of Zion. Yeah. What are you washing? Oh, she's washing them in blood. No, she's washing them in water. She says, I purchased you long ago with the truth. The truth of her word. Her word was represented by water, the law, the truth. Not a lie. Not an idol. But you see, the drunkards here actually gets drunk on wine, which is symbolic of the admixture of doctrine on the table. They polluted her true doctrine with blood, which is also why she's got to wash the blood off of these daughters, because they're bowed down at the feet of an idol. Now we know all of this, but of drunkards' vomit. Compare figurative of iniquity. So she's in filth. You know why? She's playing man's harlot, bowed down at the feet of an idol, going, he. Oh, he loves me. He's my head. I must do whatever he says. You know what's in his heart? The harlot spirit. That's what's in his heart. That's why she says in Isaiah 47, no one sees me. I will never be widowless. I will never be childless. You better pick yourself up from the feet of that idol who don't love you. So, feminine of to sow, excrement, generally dirt, figuratively pollution. Guess what? Dung. Oh, look, they're washed in dung, or they're what does it say? It says, I will wash the dung, the filth off of you. It's smeared over you. That's why, it stinks to the high heavens. That's why there's this word 7307. I've said it before. I've got my Bible. I'll find the word. That's why nose is closely associated with the spirit. She finds it, oh, you know, that Lord of Dung. Oh, it just stinks to the high heavens. That pile of crap he fed you. And you drank it down. You ate it down. It's all allegorical. I believe spirit is 7307. I think. Let me see if I can get this. Yeah. So 7307 is Ruach. And that's your spirit, right? Feminine. It's feminine, Old Testament, because that is exactly who she's representing in the earth. So prior to that is the word 7306, Ruach. It's spelled different, but no, it's not spelled different. It's the exact same spelling. Properly to blow, to breathe, only literal to smell, by implication to perceive, figurative to anticipate, enjoy, accept, smell, touch, make of quick understanding. A verb meaning to feel relief or to be spacious, to smell. This verb is usually used rarely in the Hebrew Bible. In the simple stem, it occurs twice, meaning to gain or feel relief. When David played the harp, Saul found relief. It's interesting, though, that it is linked to the nose. The verb is used most often in the causative stem to mean to smell. Gods of wood cannot smell, nor can idols of gold or silver. They cannot smell either. But I guarantee you, the true living God can smell, and God smells dung on her daughters. I'll remove the name of Baal off of your tongue. You want to know why the witnesses died in Egypt? They did die in the exodus of Egypt, but it was because they got overtaken by the idol that came out of Egypt. And that idol ends up first as a golden calf idol, solar calf deity, and another name for that is Baal, your bull god Apis, straight out of Egypt. Pharaoh, you muddied my waters, you polluted them. And then we see the solar calf deity eventually becomes a standing idol called Baal. It's directly linked. We've done this in another video. We wrote the information under them. I did it in 2 or 3 of them. I wrote the same information under. So it should be easy enough to locate if you want to go look at the information under the videos. That, you know, Baal becomes that solar calf deity, which Baal is another name, which is an idolatrous image. You're not to be found bowing to it, but is also then another name for your bridegroom and your husband, Baal. And we see the archers actually shooting at these daughters, who then become washed in filth, dung, filthiness, excrement, ugh. My mother's sons were angry with me. He made me the keeper of the vineyard, but my own vineyard have I not kept. She says, look not upon me. I've become covered in filth. I have in dung, which is of drunkards' vomit, specifically of human excrement. Let's go into Isaiah 28:8. This is fascinating. Watch this. That's verse 8, but let's go up. Let's read some. So we get what was going on here. Right. The crown of pride, the drunkards of Ephraim shall be trodden underfoot. So we're shown here that it was the drunkards in Ephraim that caused the crown. The crown is allegorical to the scepter, the daughters. Without the crown, you're not crowned. God says to the daughter, pick thyself up out of the dust of the earth and take back your throne. She is the crown that mother crowns the son with, as well as the scepter in his hand, but she is the Almighty God that does the ruling. She also is the one that crowns him with this daughter, who is the sovereign Lord over the entire kingdom. And so he's not crowned without the glorious crown. God says to the harlot, come down, Babylon. There is no throne for you. There never was. She's not a crown. She's not even a crown. So the crown of pride, the drunkards of Ephraim shall be trodden underfoot. And the glorious beauty which is on the head of the fat valley shall become a fading flower. Here we go. In that day shall the Lord of hosts, okay, I don't want that one. I want, for all tables are full of vomit and filthiness, so that there is no place clean. Whom shall she, not he, teach knowledge, and whom shall she make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. Well, it is mother's milk. It's identified as mother's milk that they were to be full of. But we also see the mothers being murdered, such as with Mordecai taking up the raising of the little girl. But we see them actively murdering the wise women in the nation of Israel. In Lamentations 4:1, 2, we see them actually murdering the precious stones, which was allegorical to the wise women, who would have taught the next generation of daughters. What they were after was the next generation of daughters, so they could really bathe them in dung, man's dung, his religious lies and laws, which is what this is all akin to. And so we see Mordecai's name meaning Marduk, worshipper of Marduk. Marduk is another name for the solar calf deity. So he obviously worshipped this solar calf deity. He believed in the teachings of man as God. That's what he wanted. That's what Balaam was teaching when he told Balak to go get his women and send them into the men and seduce them. They were looking to contaminate the woman's seed. That's the women inside the nation of Israel, who then, yes, over time began to turn away from these wise women because the men were not receiving them. And they were being broken down from the surrounding nations that were coming in and really contaminating the woman's seed. And so we see her great anger in the Exodus. We see what goes on, such as bringing down the quail because they wanted meat in their basket because it had been taught to them in the nation of Egypt. And over time, we gradually see that the witness do, in fact, die in that Exodus, but it is called the land of Egypt by the time they actually hit the Holy Land. Because by that time, they're completely contaminated by the religious lies and idols that had come out of Egypt, and that is where the solar calf deity come from. That is where the idol of Baal, your husband as Lord and God, and this whole idea that man rules alone and he's God and she must bow and she was made for him, that come out of Egypt according to the Old Testament. And it followed them straight into their own land, right into their own holy land. And by that time, according to what we understand, the witness had died in Egypt. And so that's why it says that the witness died in Egypt. They were rejecting the wise women and their law, plain and simple. And that's why we have the tables here full of an admixture of doctrine, the wine they got drunk on. That's why we see the Red Sea. The pathways come over, the water covered over her pathway. You didn't see her. And they made sure that you didn't, because for precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line upon line, here a little and there a little. And that's how they did it. For with stammering lips and another tongue will she speak to this people. To whom, she said, this is the rest wherewith ye may cause the weary to rest, and this is the refreshing. Yet they would not hear it. So, in verse 13, this is what then begins to take place, because they wouldn't hear her teachings. That would have gave them absolute peace. She said, yet you would not hear my words. That's the women inside the nation of Israel who becomes covered in filth. So what does it say? But the word of the Lord was unto them precept upon precept upon precept, line upon line upon line, here a little, there a little, that they might go and fall backwards and be broken and snared and taken. So she let them have their ways, what this is saying. She's saying, you want this lie. You want to be covered in man's dung. That's akin to this religious lie and law of a woman bowed at a man's feet as if she's nothing more than a common harlot. She wants to behave this way. And the men wanted it so. Then she says, fine, I'll let you have what you want. So little by little, she lets them have their teachings. Precept upon precept, they begin to build a whole complete lie, a whole complete law system around a law of violence and degradation and defilement, in particularly of the woman. So they're little that they might go and fall backward and be broken, ensnared, and taken. So she let them have their way, right? And so we see the filth is definitely connected. We also see this word. I wasn't going to do it, because it's all directed at the feminine, all of it. So I may not do Isaiah 48 tonight. It's a really good chapter. We'll go to Zephaniah 2. We shall see. It is Zephaniah 2. Let's see if we can pull it up. Zephaniah 2. Okay, see if I can remember this. There's a word here again we're going to take a quick look at that brings the whole idea together, really. Like for anybody who's been with us and understands the passages that I'm referring to, because we've discussed them on other videos. So it says, "This shall they have for their pride, because they have reproached and magnified themselves against the people of the Lord of hosts," against her scepter. That's right, against her daughters. But how do you know it's daughters? Well, let's go in. Let's go in on this particular verse. And you have to do this with every verse. And you'll get it, constantly reinforced that it absolutely was the women that they were mocking, they were going after, they were prideful. The men did not want to receive the law of these daughters' tongues. They were very resentful of it, very jealous of it. 2778, not realizing for 5 seconds that a woman is totally different than a man in the way that she thinks. And they just totally did not get this at all. 2778, reproached. Watch what it says here for the word reproached. Okay. We'll go down here. To reproach. It's a verb. Okay. Let's go right down and read the words first before we look at the notes. Betroth, or betroth. Blaspheme. Where does that take us to? Blaspheme. 2 Kings 19. The daughter of Zion has shaken her head at thee. To whom have you blasphemed? You have blasphemed the Holy One of Israel, the daughter that sat between the cherubim, it says. That's in 2 Kings, blasphemed. You blasphemed her. That's who you blasphemed. And that blaspheming against the Holy Spirit is not going to be forgave you. You can stick an idol between you and God all you want. It ain't going to be forgave you. It ain't. Because you don't even know who you blasphemed. And that was the point, understanding who you actually blasphemed. The idol standing makes certain that you don't know who that is. It's always a he, and the woman continues to be the harlot bowed at man's feet. Yeah, that's the filth, washed in Baal's dung. That's why you get your descendant, your female descendant, which is a word in Micah chapter 5, and we'll look at it maybe, that comes out of the dung house. Well, the dung house is Baal's house, yeah. It's a bit curious, isn't it? That she would come out. And they'll say, no, it's the man, the leader that is to be chosen, male, and yet it's female, the noun is. So this is important because what does it say? Yeah, it is there. I got to move up here so we can find. We'll keep reading it. A primitive root to pull off, by implication to expose, as by stripping. So we find them stripping the daughters, actually, in Micah chapter 2. They were as men at war, and they were ripping the robe off with the garment. They were defiling these daughters. That's what they were doing. They were rejecting them. And they came directly from God Almighty. That's right, who spoke her word on their tongue. And they said, no, we don't receive this. Nuh-uh, we'll write our own laws. And that's just what they did. A whole polluted pile of lies. Defy, rail, reproach, upbraid. by implication to expose by stripping, specifically to betroth, as if a surrender. Yeah. Where do we find that? Well, that's the covenant that is to be disannulled. That's the current marriage covenant. And there is a word that means to be defiled in cohabitation. That's right. There happens to be 2 tabernacles below, not one. And when you said, hey, this is the covenant of God, you woman must listen, I'm your head, you'll do what I tell you, and on it goes. That is a covenant to be disannulled. You have hid yourself under a refuge of lies. And they say, well, when the overflowing scourge comes in, it won't touch us because with Sheol are we at agreement. And that's to do with the idea that they can fool the witnesses in the earth. The witness of the Holy Spirit that will be reborn again to testify. That's right. That's what it's about. So, and this is it, to betroth as if a surrender. That we found them. They were as women at war. It says, how does it say? Always learning but never able to come to the knowledge of the truth. There are foolish women who are led away captive by their own lusts, right? By this lusting after this idol that they've been taught, this lie, this Baal's dung, they're polluted in it. Lusting after this idol of Jesus, believing that it's him that's going to cause them to be forgave, when that's really what's going to cause them to remain captive under a religious lie. But when you go look the word captive up in that particular passage, you're going to see it says to be made captive in a war. What do we got here? To betroth, as if a surrender. Figuratively, to carp. What's to carp? What does that mean? To find fault or complain congruously. No, I said that wrong. Querulously or unreasonably by niggling and criticizing. Yeah. To carp at minor errors. And baby, they do this all the time to women. You can't make a mistake. And baby, they got you pinned against the wall. They don't make mistakes. It's you women that do it. But it's for these just little, niggling little criticisms that they make. And we know men do this. We all hear them do this. It means to defame. Oh, look, defame. Where does that take us? We know where it takes us. Zephaniah 3, chapter 18. You have defamed and debased my holy ones. You have blasphemed their holy name. That's what this is about. So let's go back, all right? We see this is to do with what the men do to women, to taunt against, properly to say sharp things against reproach. You hear this off the pulpit all the time. I heard it all the time. But they empower themselves in some organizations where they tell the woman she must remain silent. So if you can never refute anything they ever say on the pulpit, they're going to begin to grow pretty arrogant. They're going to find fault. They're going to complain unreasonably about the woman. They're going to niggly, be in there criticizing, to carp at minor errors, and they do this all the time off the pulpit. I heard it. No matter where I went, I heard it from the men towards the women, because the women were oftentimes instructed to remain silent. And women just got in the habit of not saying anything. So that's why it brings us back to Isaiah 42. Long time have I held my peace. Now will I go forth as a travailing woman. Now will I reproach you, Adam. Psalm 50. I believe it's Psalm 50. It's not Isaiah 50. Now will I reproach you, and I will set the case in order. I'll show you the truth, you liar. You liar who lied about me. You pierced us and you stabbed us in the back is what you did. What does it say? This is what they will get in return for their pride, for insulting and mocking my inheritance. The people of the Lord Almighty, the Lord will be terrifying to them when she starves all the gods of the earth. Then the nations of every shore will bow in worship, not to him, to her, each in its own place. Yep. Yeah. The remnant of my people will plunder them. The remainder of my nation will dispose. It says my nation will dispossess them. Dispossess them, sorry. That's the remainder of her people that she takes back, puts her spirit on us, and shows us the truth. She washes us in water is what she does. She washes the filth of Baal's teachings off of us, the dung, because that is what it is. It's a load of crap is what it is. Yeah. So I'm not going to do Isaiah 48. We'll do that maybe in a separate video. I know I'm going to get to Wisdom chapter 9 very soon, hopefully. Let's go to this word in Micah 5 and draw our correlation. Whoops. Well, I guess that'll do. To your dung god, Baal, who's another name for your husband, who is also another name for the solar calf deity, your bridegroom, which is why the witness, which is the Holy Spirit identified in the earth, died in the Exodus. That's really what happened. So, we're in chapter 6. I hear somebody. I may have to leave. Micah 5. Right here. It's verse 2, Micah 5. But thou, Bethlehem Ephratah, though thou be little among the thousands of Judah, yet out of thee shall she come forth unto me that is to be ruler in Israel, whose going forths have been from old and from everlasting. But watch the word. I believe it's everlasting is the word we're looking at here, from ancient times, whose origins, where is it? You see here, I'll get the right one. Who's going forth? Who's going forth? Origins. Whose origins? Watch the origins. It's noun feminine. Your origins of this ruler who will be in Israel. And what does it say? The shepherdess shall come out of, the stone shall come out of Joseph. That's the blessings she comes out of. Right? This is her. Compare future ruler out of Bethlehem, her origin. Places of going out to privy, a draught house. Going forth. Feminine, a family descendant. Yeah. And they'll want you to believe it's a male who's going to be your shepherd. That comes out of Joseph's blessings. Let's go to Genesis right quick and then we'll say goodbye. For now, Genesis 49. Parallel. Actually punched in again the wrong chapter. It's 48, but we'll move ahead one. So ahead we go. What does it say? Simply by reading, we learn a lot. If we truly want the truth and not a bunch of bullcrap from the bullcrappers that clearly don't make no sense. And clearly you can see the pride that they have. What does it say? Verse 24. But her bow, her covenant. Bow is a symbol of a covenant. And it's her covenant because the archers, which is Baal, was shooting at the branches, the daughters, the female descendants. That's who they were shooting at with their wrongful covenant. But her bow, her covenant abode in strength, and the arms of her hands were made strong by the hands of the mighty God of, not Jacob, Israel. That's her mother. And her title is Israel. That's her title. From thence is the shepherdess, the stone of Israel. You see? That takes us back to this female descendant. Yeah. And it is a feminine descendant. Her origins are of old. She comes from everlasting, is what it says. She does. And she comes out of the dung house. Yeah. The Lord of Dung's house. That's where we're residing currently. See? See how easy it is to put it all together. It really is. And we know that I was reading this series of book recently, and I hit the term palimpsest. And years ago, they would take, you know, these leather parchment books, because they were expensive and hard to come by, and they would just kind of wash the words off of them and write over them again. And so the meaning actually becomes a manuscript sealed up into another manuscript, actually a small manuscript sealed up, because you'll only get so many words or passages in the previous book that was the original. You'll only find parts of it, right? So there you get the little book sealed up in the big book. They tried to erase her. They did, but yet it's there. Yeah, they couldn't hide certain parts. They had to try to flow with it and make it all fit, and yet it don't. So I think that's everything. I'm going to do an Isaiah 48. Now, whether that will be the actual next one that we look at, or Wisdom chapter 9, I don't know. We shall see. But there we go. There's two words right there. There's no way you can't get any other meaning out of them, in my opinion. They attacked the holy ones, and we've studied who those were. Let me just look at Zephaniah 9 again. Yeah. And she starves all the gods of the earth, their pomp. She's going to bring their pomp down. They think they're the be-all, end-all. Males do. You watch them. That's why they hang so tight to Jesus. Yeah, which is the feet of the idol. We get that now. That causes that idol in Daniel 2 to stand. We get the rock. That's these daughters reborn out of the dust of the earth, to bring the truth back to you. Okay, I don't think I want to read any more in Zephaniah chapter 2. But there we go. There's another little video. We'll pop this one off some point. We'll upload it some point. I don't know if I'll do it tonight. But there we go. Thanks for watching. I pray you're all blessed with abundance of truth. And I hope you all had a really nice day. And thanks for watching again.